Hey guys, we're gonna go ahead and read the next chapter of our book, and I'm just gonna start reading chapter 36, Facing Fears. Tuesday afternoon in the rock crusher, I felt pretty down when I met Liz. I've been doing so well, I moaned. Speaking up, saying what I mean, and then my mother had to come in school and ruin it all. Liz and I were leaning against a big stone in the meadow and looking at the sky. I don't understand why you're so upset. I thought you kind of liked JT. I never told her what JT called her when he found out she was colored. I didn't see a reason to now. That was ages ago, I said. JT is a jerk. Maybe you like someone else, asked Liz. Little Jimmy? I laughed. He's 4 feet tall and as skinny as a beanpole. She shrugged. People grow. I always thought he was kind of nice. He was kind of nice. On the float, asking about Liz, I thought he liked her too. And he bought me my homework on Valentine's Day. Maybe Liz was right. Maybe I really should give him a second look. Come on, said Liz. It's a beautiful day. Tommy has an extra long practice, 2 hours. There must be something I can do to cheer you up. It was a beautiful day. It was only March, but it was warm and the field was full of wild crocus, jonquils, and Indian paintbrush. When I was little, Judy and I would spend every afternoon like this in the rock crusher, picking flowers and wading in the creek. Let's catch crawdads, I asked. Tongue twister. Let's catch crawdads, I said. Ugh, said Liz. Isn't there something else you want to do? I turned and looked at her in surprise. Liz was usually game for anything. I don't know why this just flipped over. Sorry about that. I turned and looked at her in surprise. Liz was usually game for anything. What's wrong with crawdads? Liz blushed. I don't like creepy crawly things. Spiders, roaches, crawdads. I had to keep myself from grinning. It made me feel good to know that there was something she was afraid of. Isn't it important to face your fears? I asked. Do I have to get in the water to catch them? Oh, yeah, I said. That's the best part. Then, no. You weren't afraid of turtles. They are reptiles with a nice hard shell and no scary pinchers. Come on, Liz. She looked at me a long time. What are you afraid of? Talking, Liz laughed. Besides that, I thought for a moment. Heights? Fine, said Liz. I'll catch those crawdad thingies with you, but then you have to climb a tree with me. Facing our fears, huh? You know it. And because I realized I wasn't thinking about JT or mother or the roller skating party anymore, I agreed. Which is how we found ourselves with our shoes and socks off, holding our skirts up as we waded in the creek. The water was cold, but the sun was warm on our backs. My toes are freezing, complained Liz. I ignored her. What you have to do is flip over a rock or old log or something, anything where a crawdad might like to hide. I flipped over a rock. There was a huge crawdad, 6 inches long, just sitting there. I scooped it up with an old tin can he had found in the woods and brought it over to show Liz. She took one look at it and shivered. I grinned and dumped it back into the stream. Your turn now, I said. Liz turned over a rock or two but found nothing. You need bigger rocks, I said, and pointed to a small boulder a few feet away. It was heavy, so I helped Liz flip it over. I see one! She exclaimed, and was so excited she dropped her skirt in the water. I handed her the can. Scoop it up. It might pinch me. Put it in the can. Put the can in the water, a few inches behind the crawdad, but far enough away so you don't scare it. Liz, moving slowly, placed the can into a crevice between two stones directly behind the crawdad. I handed her a stick. Now wiggle the stick in front of the little guy. Pretend you're a fish or a snapping turtle or something. Liz looked doubtful, but splashed the stick in the water, right in front of the crawdad. Just like I knew it would, it moved a few steps backward. Again, I said, keep moving him back into the can. Liz didn't breathe as she wiggled the stick. The crawdad moved into the can. Only one little pincher was peeking out. What now? Whispered Liz. Now you pick it up. Liz bent over and put her hands in the water. She reached for the can and slowly drew it out of the water. She was so quiet, we could hear the crawdad scrabbling inside. I got it, she breathed. Not so bad, was it? Liz couldn't stop grinning. Come on, she said. Let's catch some more. An hour later, it was my turn. We stood in front of a huge oak tree on the edge of the meadow. I looked up. You expect me to climb this? I asked. Hey, said Liz. I caught those creepy little things. You liked it, I said. Well, then maybe you will too. I sighed. What do I do first? Reach up and grab that branch, said Liz. I did so. Now pull yourself up. I gave her a look. Just that branch, Liz said. You don't have to go any higher. So I pulled and she pushed and I was up in the tree. So my arms were wrapped around the trunk. You think that after going up in an airplane, climbing a tree would be easy, but it wasn't. You can't fall out of a plane. There's a seatbelt. And the wind blows, but it's outside, not trying to loosen your grip on the branches. I felt dizzy and closed my eyes and started to count. 2, 3, 5, 7. Then I felt Liz's hand on my shoulder. Open your eyes, she said. I did. I was only about 5 feet off the ground, but already I was surrounded by leaves and oak flowers. It was a different world. There were even a few old bunches of acorns from last fall clinging to the branches. Are you all right? I nodded. And it was true. My heart was beating fast and I was scared. But I knew that feeling now. I had it before. When I did the presentation at school, when I got on the airplane, and both times I'd been okay. All you have to do, said Liz slowly, is wash my hands and feet. Put your hands where I put my hands. Place your feet where my feet go, and you will be fine. I nodded. Liz started to climb. I stared at her white lace socks and saddle shoes, and I watched where her right hand went. She had a bit of dirt under her thumb, and where her left hand went, there was a bit of old red nail polish on her ring finger. And I repeated times table in my head until I was able to follow her. Pretty soon we were high enough that I could feel the tree swing back and forth in the wind. It's okay, said Liz. It's not going to blow over or anything. But I wasn't worried. It's like flying, I said. The airplane rocks like that when you take off. Isn't the view amazing? Liz sighed. I was staring at her feet. Taking a deep breath, I gripped the tree tighter and wrenched my gaze away from her. Saddle shoes. The view was beautiful. In one direction, I could see the large rock we like to sit on, and in the other, the rolling Arkansas hills. The late afternoon sun turned all the new light green leaves to gold, like King Midas had been walking through the forest. It worked, I said. You cheered me up. Liz didn't say a word. She didn't have to. We stayed in the tree a long time, watching the leaves and the squirrels and listening to the birds together. Chapter 37. The Roller Skating Party. The week before the party, Mother and I went to Cone's department store to buy me a new dress. I knew Mother was trying to be nice, but I would have preferred to have worn a hand-me-down from Judy and spent the money on a new package of graph paper, a box of pencils, or a new protractor. The whole time we were at the store, I kept thinking, I don't want to go with JT. But what kept coming on instead was, do you like this color? Or is this one too expensive? I ended up getting a yellow dress with a full skirt that flew out like a buttercup when I told around. Mother said I looked beautiful, but I was disappointed. I hadn't managed to say one real sentence to her. Not one that I told her how I was really feeling. The night of the party, Daddy took my picture and wiped pretend tears from his eyes. My little girl is growing up, he sniffled, and I smiled as I waited by the window for JT to pull up. It was raining, but finally an old gray Chrysler Windsor pulled up to the curb and JT walked up to our door. He had a suit on, a bit too big, but he looked nice. If only I didn't think about how he was a cheat and a racist. Daddy snapped one more picture, and we walked out to the car. I had my pink purse in one hand and Sally's present in the other. JT opened the door, and we slid into the back seat. The car started moving, and I looked into the front seat, expecting to see Mr. and Mrs. Dalton. Instead, Brad sat behind the driver's wheel. My heart started beating in time with the windshield wipers only twice as fast. You still friends with that colored girl? Asked Brad at a stoplight. I didn't answer. My stomach hurt as if my mother had dosed me with castor oil. Leave her alone, said JT. JT's in love, teased Brad. No, I'm not, snapped JT. Then he looked at me aghast. I didn't mean. He needn't have worried. I certainly wasn't in love with him. Finally, about 10 hours later, for some reason my watch said only 8 minutes. We turned into Asher Avenue, and there we were. A neon sign blinked at us in the parking lot. Troy's rink. When's the stupid thing over? Asked Red. 9, said JT. Well, don't keep me waiting, Red snapped. I got better things to do than drive you two around. The car rolled to a stop, and we jumped out. Mrs. McDaniels was waiting for us at the door. Welcome, Marley. Welcome, JT. Everyone's inside. When she said everyone, she wasn't kidding. In order to get the maximum number of presents, Sally had invited every single person in our class. There was a gift table by the door, so I put my present down and looked around. I'd been to Troy's with my sister once or twice before, but never for a party. The rink was a large open room with a hard wooden floor. There was a snack bar where Mr. McDaniels was setting up a cake, an organ in one corner, where old Mrs. Chapman, the piano teacher from down the street, was playing the polka. The strangest thing about Troy's was a huge quote painted on the wall. It read, "The more you skate, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you skate." I could never quite figure out what that meant. I sat down to put on my skates. I had to rent a pair since I didn't have my own. And when I was done, Sally and Nora skated over to me. Sally's dress was so pink and frothy, she looked like a piece of cotton candy. She had her new white leather roller skates, and I couldn't help feeling a little envious. Nora was in lime green, the color all wrong for her complexion. Glad you made it, Marley, said Sally. We're going to do the limbo later. With a flip of her hair, she was off. JT rolled up next to me, in leather skates, carrying a cup of punch. For you, he said with a little bow. I nodded, took the punch, and put it in the side of the room. Oh, come on, Marley, JT pleaded. Don't be cross. Let's skate. He took my hand and pulled me onto the floor, linking his arm through mine. I kept my arms stiff, standing as far from here as possible as we started to skate in circles around the room. Why don't you like me? Asked JT. Why do you care? I asked. Maybe I want your good opinion. Maybe you want help with your math. JT smiled. I could see a little bit of the golden child who got away with everything. I mean it, Marley. What did I do? And this is where I'm going to leave you with a cliffhanger for until tomorrow.